I'm speaking with Brian Chu, who's the founder of the Australian Gold Fund. That's goldfund.com.au. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Tim. Good to be here.
Now, as the founder of the Australian Gold Fund, you've just finished speaking at Australia's largest gold conference in Sydney, which is held annually. How did that go?
Well, it's only been 2 weeks, Tim, that the Australian Gold Conference wrapped up. And this is the fourth one that I went to, which Kerry Stevenson hosted. I came in 2019, 2023, 2024, and also this year. Now, we've seen gold in a raging bull market. I used to say gold tripled in 10 years and doubled in five, except given that gold went parabolic, I could now say gold tripled in 6 years and doubled in 2 years.
Well, the big
There was a lot
question
of,
everyone's
yeah,
asking about gold, and it's
yes,
coming to the attention of a lot of people, not just investors,
yes.
but the man on the street. Why has that occurred, in your opinion?
Well, Tim, have you been to Martin Place recently where at the ABC Bullion flagship store, there were people lining up and down Martin Place and also snaking around Castlereagh Street. Why is that? Because gold's gone up by so much and people have been lining up to buy gold. Gold's in pre-order and also out of stock. And that's probably fueled the FOMO response. And media loves picking up whatever is whatever when there's blood, they smell it, they go and chase it. Look, gold's been up for quite a while, and no one cared until people started lining up. They're a bit behind the curve, and hopefully, your viewers and my viewers, we've been onto this for a while, and we're just enjoying watching this spectacle and enjoying taking some profits along the way.
So why do you think there's this big interest in gold all of a sudden? I mean, the price has gone up, sure, but prices go
Yeah,
up and everything. I mean, a loaf of bread goes up. Your average groceries going up and gold's going up. So why are they lining the streets to buy gold? What's the intrinsic value here?
okay, so we have Diwali, the Indian festival where a lot of Indians buy gold during this period. It coincides also with the harvest period and also for them to go and buy these for their family members. We have geopolitical tensions. At one stage, people were worried about the Middle East conflicts flaring up further, Russia and Ukraine being they've been fighting for over 3.5 years. We also have the Federal Reserve make their first cut of the interest rate. Well, not the first rate, the first cut in the interest rate, I think in September, and there's expectation of more, causing people to believe that they do need a safety. They need a safe haven. They need a place to retain their purchasing power, and gold springs back into mind once more.
Gold has that phenomenal ability to maintain its value even over hundreds of years. And while it does appear that it's going up, well, it is going up. Really, is that in terms of its relative value to fiat currency?
That's a very good question, Tim, because most of the time we're valuing everything in dollar terms, in yuan, in pesos, in all sorts of currencies. We think that currencies are a good measure of value, except they're not, because we have seen over the last 50 years, especially, the boom bust cycle began because of the petrodollar system coming in, replacing the gold standard. The US dollar is now the reserve currency, and therefore, people believe that dollars determine what uh, what people should pay for. The last 7 or 8 years, we saw how much governments have created these currencies around the world. So when prices are going up, are they do they mean something is more valuable, or are we basically dealing with a something that has increasing supply relative to gold, silver, property, bread, food, etc. It's just that we're producing much more currencies than we're producing bread, we're producing gold, we're mining things out of the ground. That's why the prices are going up. It's not necessarily something becomes more valuable. It is the purchasing power of the dollar or all currencies are falling sharply, and gold has retained its relative purchasing power to all these other things. Compare the price of gold to apples. How many barrels, how many liters of oil you can buy, and how many ounces of gold you could pay to buy a property. They haven't changed too much. They have fluctuated, but definitely not as much as it has with currencies.
Now, I know that you've been looking at technical research for many years, interested in it from a young age. So this has led you to create the Australian Gold Fund. But more than that, you have other arms in the Australian Gold Fund that would be very interesting to viewers right now. Please tell us about those ancillary things that you've got surrounding the Australian Gold Fund.
Yes, Tim. So in 2019, I established the Australian Gold Fund, and that initially I had the intention to be a managed fund to take people's cash and buy shares on their behalf and charge them management fees. Over time, I realized there were better ways of doing it because I didn't have to compete with all these established fund managers who probably have more connections and bigger scale than me. So instead, I went to write newsletters and research for people at Fata Investment Research, which is a Melbourne-based independent financial solutions publisher. And I write two newsletters, the Australian Gold Report, which is an investment newsletter to help people build a portfolio of precious metals assets. So physical bullion, ETFs, large gold mining companies. The other newsletter I also write is Gold Stock Pro, which is a speculative newsletter aimed at guiding people to speculate in the smaller end of town, the explorers, the early stage developers. So that's a newsletter side. That's where I can provide people with more direct guidance on how they can build their portfolio, what stocks to buy, what price to pay, when, and I give them my investment thesis and the economic market, the prevailing economic markets.
And you support this. You support this. These the data in the newsletters is supported very strongly by technical research that you do personally, isn't it?
Yep. So technical research and more importantly, fundamental research. And I built my own database to track the performance of mining companies on a quarterly basis. I also get the historical commodity prices, and I created my own valuation metric based on the company's earning their production, their operating margin, as in how much they earn producing gold relative, selling gold relative to producing gold. I used to keep those with me. Now I set up GoldHub Australia, which was established in April last year, and goldhub.com.au provides you with updates about the market, precious metals market. Is laid out similar to Kitco in Canada. We're hoping to do something similar to them, but what we're doing differently is we also have a sign-in membership where you could access the data that you mentioned about and I talked about just then. You could get into the metrics that I use, and you can try that for yourself to inform your own investing. If that is too challenging for you, if that's too involved, there's of course the newsletters. You only need to invest perhaps 2 hours of your time reading my updates and deciding whether this suits you and whether you would like to buy those shares in your brokerage account.
So just go back over those two newsletters again. So the gold report's more of a speculative newsletter. That's for, and you update that very regularly with more high risk, you'd say, high risk investment. But the other newsletter is more about mainstream gold producers and EFTs, which is exchange traded, or ETFs, exchange traded funds. So one's more targeted towards a long-term investor and one's more targeted towards a short-term investor. Is that right?
I'll probably put it this way. Both are actually long-term newsletters, but what differs is I've taken the mining life cycle and we've split it from, the earlier stage companies that are more speculative, they may require more patience because you're dealing with a lot of volatility and a long onset period for these companies to fulfill the goals that they purport to be doing. So that is in Gold Stock Pro. That newsletter is a speculative premium newsletter, and we normally market that for $2,999 a year. We do offer special rates every so often. Do keep in do check us out at fattail.com.au. The other newsletter is what they call a front-end entry-level newsletter, the Australian Gold Report. That is for people wanting to learn about gold, wanting to understand why it protects their purchasing power and potentially increase their wealth. We then recommend them on where to buy the physical bullion, why they may want to buy ETFs, what's the difference between paper or digital gold versus physical bullion. On top of that, people pay for that because they want to know how to trade in the larger gold producers, more established companies, maybe market cap of at least $1 billion, in order to get an exposure across all the precious metals asset ranges that's available, and with guidance so that they're not just taking tips from someone at the pub or buying companies that they really don't understand and end up losing their shirt and hating gold forever.
I'm sure you're more highly qualified than someone at the pub that I may take tips from. That's
exactly,
an interesting statement.
but you could say, Tim, a lot of people, when they're watching a bull market, what do they do? They jump onto a bull market, and then the first thing they want to know is what stocks to buy. Where they're going to hear from? Among in the pub, among friends picking or dropping off their children at school, or on a sports field. You don't want to do that. You want to get someone who's been in this for a while, and they can provide
absolutely.
you clear
instructions. And so in order to engage in the cycle, and people can investigate it and look at which report suits them the best or how they would engage, what would be the website to go to for them to start that initial discovery?
So daily.fattail.com.au, that's Fattail Daily. That actually provides daily updates on different types of products that Fattail Investment Research provides, and those articles will point to the services that's probably the best place to go
for people to start looking.
Yeah.
Well, they could go to goldfund.com.au to start their discovery, couldn't they?
So if they go to goldfund.com.au, that more showcases my history, the Australian Gold Fund, our performance, and an archive of old research reports that I used to write. I don't actually sell anything there. That is what we call the parent entity. You read about my story. If you want to then learn about the data that I use and get access to it, you go to goldhub.com.au, and that's where you get the live market quotes and the proprietary data sign up.
Fantastic, Brian. Well, I've been speaking with Brian Chu, who's the founder of Gold Fund, the Australian Gold Fund. And thank you, Brian, very much for spending time with us today.
Great to be here, Tim, and thanks again. God bless.